Otherwise, I'll go mad.
It is, and they're just so pretty. The courses are so. I just like walking around the courses and taking in the scenery, and it's very relaxing.
Yes. Well, this is awesome. It looks like we are live.
Yeah, you guys are live.
Awesome. All right, on. So, hey, well, this week, welcome to Lunch with Kayleen and CEFGA, where we're geeking out and chatting about everything. To start off the episode, as usual, I'm just going to take a quick minute and geek out about one of the tools that I have. It's one of the most ridiculous ones. Scott, I think you'll appreciate this. So, I have a friend who works in the railroad industry, and he gave me this.
Oh my gosh. I think that's the biggest wrench I've ever seen.
It was the biggest wrench I've ever seen too. And I spotted it in his garage and I was like, hey, what's up? And so it's a snap-on wrench, legit. It's a 13/4, which I don't know what I would ever use this for around the house besides like trying to fix pieces by hitting it. But it made me laugh because I also have another wrench that I wear as an earring. So, right? I know. Snap-on too.
Extremes. Yeah.
Hey, it's always nice to geek out about the tools we get, but it's always nice to geek out with you about anything anyway. And this week, I'm particularly excited about the topic that we're discussing because while we can say there's a lot of money and earnings to be made in the industry, a lot of folks aren't quite sure on how to get from point A to point B, thinking that there's a lot of investment to be made in between. So we are talking about how to make money and get an education. And Scott, I would love to know, can you tell me about your education? I think you have a great story.
Yeah, so thank you, Kayleen, and thank you for joining us again this week. This is awesome. I always look forward to our Tuesdays together. I feel like we're getting to know each other even more than we already did. But so yeah, I went to college at a place called Georgia Southern University here in Georgia. It's down in South Georgia, Statesboro. And I knew when I went to college that I needed to work. And I was thinking, maybe McDonald's or Burger King or something. I knew I needed to earn a little bit of money. I ended up getting a job as a sports writer at a daily newspaper. It was one of my first real jobs. And it was perfect because it combined two things I love. I love to write and I love sports. And so here I was getting paid to go to, sporting events. But I wanted to share that with you because what I found is I learned as much from that job as I did getting a college degree. I think about this often. My degree's in political science. It's not super practical. I thought I wanted to be an attorney at one point, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, what I wanted to share with you is that I learned as much from that job at the newspaper, being a sports writer, as I did while I was earning my degree. And to me, that's a really valuable lesson. I think, I did the job to earn money. That was my main, objective, was to earn a little bit of extra money while I was in college. But what I figured out is I learned a lot through that work experience. And that's not something I was counting on, was learning. I was counting on earning money, but I didn't realize how much I would actually learn through that process of, of working. And so I think that's a question I'd love to hear from our guest today is, we know that one of the reasons you work is to earn money, but we also work to learn and grow and acquire new skills and build relationships. And so I think that's a real benefit to working, at any point, but definitely while you're in college. It's a great little added bonus.
It's a gigantic skill. And it's the things I think, the industry sort of refers to them as soft skills, which is, and not saying, but it is work ethic, it's teamwork, it's working around people, it's honing your skills in a particular way. And what I have found fascinating is I've had a lot of different careers. I was a psychic once, I was a mad scientist, right? All sorts of things. I did not realize at the time though, that all these jobs you work along the way, a little piece of them comes into play in what you end up doing when you figure it out. And, right. You kind of do thin it out along the way. I am not a good mad scientist. I'm a good entertainer. So I am looking forward to hearing from our guests today too, because they do have recent experience in the industry. And so this will be great.
Perfect.
Oh, speaking of which, hello, Courtney.
Hey, right on cue, right?
Yes, hi. Oh, this is a nice CEFGA reunion. It's like seeing friends. Sure.
Hi, Courtney.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you doing? It looks like you're in your welding lab there in Thompson.
I am. We just wrapped up softball practice, so I came over here to do the meeting.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see you.
Good to see y'all too.
You got your Bulldog shirt on.
That's excellent. No, Scott, thank you so much for starting off the chat. And for our folks listening, Scott will be around. So if you have any questions that he can answer, please feel free to type them in. And then also, we are using the hashtag career path at a particular number that is blanking on my memory right now, but we'll get that in just a minute. So. Well, thanks again, Scott, and we'll chat with you in a bit. And Courtney, it is awesome to see you again.
It's great to see you.
Oh, the last time we got to hang out was in your welding shop, which is beyond fantastic. And I was really impressed because I got to hang out with you in class and meet your students, see your shop, see some of your teaching technique, and I was very impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely a lot of fun, and the kids really enjoyed that.
You know, you are a welder. You're a very talented welder. You got into it as Skills USA. The piece that you created was gorgeous. And what you ended up winning? Did you win a gold for that piece?
I did. First place in the state of Georgia for the welding sculptures.
Oh my gosh. And so you are a very gifted and talented welder. How did you get into teaching?
Well, honestly, I got into it from my high school welding teacher. He reached out to me. I was welding full time at Kubota at the time, and he reached out to me and said that Thompson High School was coming to look at his shop because they were building a brand new program. So they wanted an idea of what they needed to do, how they needed to build it. And while they were there, he mentioned to them that he had a former student that might be interested in teaching, and then it just snowballed from there.
That's fantastic. And because I think it's fantastic because you're a young female teacher. And I think it's really important for students to know that you could work in this right away. It's not like you have to,
I think it's an advantage to me because, I mean, I'm older than them, but they know that I'm still relatable. And so I guess when they look at me, they see themselves kind of in a way that, oh, she's only so many years older than me. I could do that if I really wanted to.
Yes.
So I think it helps.
Oh, big time it does. It is an attainable goal. And you are kind of experiencing some fun things because of this amazing career path. I've known you now for a few years, and I know you're a whole year younger than most folks, which is so amazing. And it's because of your skills.
Yeah.
And so, you are a fantastic teacher. Did you always feel comfortable teaching welding?
At first it took a little bit to get into, but once I got the hang of it, it wasn't so much the welding part. It was okay, how do I teach the in classroom? Because I didn't go to school to be a teacher. So that was a lot of like trial and error, and I'm still working on that. But once we get in the shop, I mean, there's no issue at all. It comes very natural.
Oh, it does. And your students respect you at a
Oh, yeah. I'm so thankful. I've got amazing kids.
Well, and it comes from being authentic. You really enjoy what you are expressing and getting to pass on. I mean, this knowledge, well, it's fun.
Yeah.
There's a great career outside of it, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
Your energy, you can feel that with the students. And so, what are some things that you're making sure your students walk out of your classroom with to get them prepared to come into the industry?
Well, just making sure they know everything that they need to know so that when they do go to a job site, because it's not just a reflection of them, it's also a reflection of my program. So I want them to be, I want them to be prepared. I want them to know what to expect because, I mean, it wasn't sugar coated for me, but I think as a student, you kind of look at it like, oh yeah, working all those hours, like it's not a big deal until you get in that situation and you're like, oh my gosh, like they always say it, but you don't really ever, I guess, grasp it until you're in that situation. So I like to make it really clear to them how it actually is in the real industry, bringing in guest speakers. I mean, anything I can do to get them mentally and actually technically prepared as far as their welding skills too.
You're fantastic at it. And it's, setting a realistic expectation. We
Yeah.
need to balance the fact that there's a tremendous amount of money and success in this industry,
Yeah.
but it does come with hard work.
Yeah, and that's what everyone sees, oh, the dollar signs, but if you're not willing to put in that work, I mean, it's not going to work out. You have to be hardworking and willing to put forth that effort.
Big time. But boy, I'll tell you what, you can be in a lot of other industries and work very, very hard and not see the success you can with having skills like this. I want you kind of glanced over it very fast, but for our viewers, just because I think it's great, you didn't necessarily set out to become a welder, right?
I didn't. The only reason I took welding in high school, it was my senior year, and it was either take a normal math class or take welding. And I said, I'll take welding. I had no idea what it was about or anything. And so I took it, and Coach K, who is the welding teacher at Maxwell High School, worked with me a lot. And I decided I wanted to do the welding sculpture for Skills USA, and went to competition, and I won first place, which from that Tulsa Welding School offers a full tuition scholarship. And I said, hey, I'll go. It's 7 months. If I decide I don't like it, I'll go back to school. And which it didn't happen like that, obviously, but I loved it. And so I just stayed in it and went and worked full time. But I can say now that, I mean, I enjoyed it at Kubota, but I love what I do now. Like, I come to work excited for it every day. I look forward to seeing these kids. I enjoy it a lot more now.
No, that's fantastic. And it's you can feel your passion. It's great to hang out with somebody else who likes what they do. When you talk about bringing in speakers, a question from one of our viewers is, do you also take your kids to job sites and have them visit places?
We didn't this past year. We had one set up for actually to go where I used to work, and it was in April, and we got shut down the month before and weren't able to go on that field trip because of COVID. So, but hopefully once we're allowed to go on field trips and stuff, I would love to do that.
Yes,
because that's part of that getting them mentally prepared. The more they see it, the more comfortable they get, and the more they'll pay attention and soak up stuff. So.
A big time, because the first time you're on a job site, it's overwhelming. It's stimulation overload.
Yes.
And, it's a lot to digest, and seeing how dangerous most sites are, the fact you're exposing students to this early is so valuable, because I meet people now, and I'll admit it, every time I drive onto a new job site, I'm still nervous.
And like in the shop, you hound them about safety, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But then when they actually see that you go to the job site and they're just as strict, and they actually see all these different things going on at one time, I think it hits them a little more how serious it actually is.
Big time. I completely agree. Like, oh, it's not just like my teacher said.
Yeah.
The world.
Oh, this is a real thing. This could actually happen.
Yeah, big time.
It's hard getting those high schoolers to realize that.
What? High schools things get hard to get through sometimes? Whatever, that's cute. Well, it is. And that's actually why we are using the social mediums to talk about this and help demystify it. That everyone's nervous on their first day of work. Cool, right? But then once you get over that and you're safe, it's a love. There's so much around it that is fantastic. And I'm interested too, you mentioned that your school gave you the opportunity to take a math class or welding, and the fact that they were keyed in enough to understand that welding is very heavy math. It's just applied.
Yes.
Like,
everyone always asks me that. How did it count? Because my students here ask me that all the time. How did it count for a math credit? And then we start getting started in the program, and they start to understand, oh, okay, this isn't as easy. I mean, that's what it was for me. I was like, oh, I'm getting out of math. No, it was a different caliber of it.
Yeah, big time. It's, well, and I've told this story multiple times that I did not understand the Pythagorean theorem until the first time I went onto a job site and framed a wall. And I was like, A squared plus B squared equals that, or C squared. And I appreciate the ability to learn math in that sort of contained environment where you can apply it. Just like, but welding, I mean, you make sparks. Like, it's amazing. And speaking of sparks, we're going to talk to Joe next. But hi, Joe.
Hey, Kayleen.
Hi. Courtney, thank you so much for chatting with us for a moment. I'm going to ask you to stick around because I'm actually going to bring everyone back on so we can nerd out for a minute and answer hopefully more viewer questions. So for all you folks tuning in, please, if you have any questions for Courtney, who is amazing, I would love to do that. So, how is it going today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time to have lunch with us.
Yeah, well, it's not lunchtime for me. I'm 2 hours behind y'all, but
Oh, all right. Well, again, it's not lunchtime for me either, but we pretend, right?
yeah.
I'm not eating lunch. I'm drinking a Capri Sun. It's sort of like, it's very, very close. So, this week we're talking about the transition sort of learning in classroom, maybe at a high school level, and then getting an education and getting a job. And I want to talk about the investment costs or the ability to make money while getting an education. And I had an opportunity to actually read through some of your answers. It's great. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm very excited about this. I think every story is completely different, and it's very valuable to share the scope of them. And so, when was the aha moment that you realized that there were a lot of different things to do?
I personally had several of those. I heard you guys talking about being on a job site, and for me, I tried to go to school and it didn't work out right away. So I started working, and I got on the first big job site that I really got on, where there was like hundreds of people walking around, was kind of an aha moment that like there's a lot to do in construction. You don't have to commit to one thing. And I was just kind of fascinated by that. And then, eventually I ended up giving school another try. And when I had to pick a course of study, I realized that like there's a lot you can even go to school for, and one thing that I ended up helping me through that was I got on the Occupational Outlook handbook, and I started looking at all the different careers in construction. And that's a really useful resource for young kids these days, because it explains what you do, it explains how you get there, what kind of education, what kind of training, and it even tells you how much you can expect to make when you're in that field. So that was a big eye opener for me. And then I think when I switched from working in the trades to working for a general contractor, that was another one where it's like you have to put all of this together. And then there's engineers and architects and owners, and then there's general contractors, and then there's everybody else that's building this work. And I mean, there's just so many different routes that if you want to go, I mean, and there's opportunity to make money while you're doing it is another thing, so.
Oh, it's huge, and that's something that I remember touring a commercial job company down Louisiana once, and just walking around looking at just their fab shops and knowing that they were on giant projects like oil rigs and nuclear power plants, and you start to think of the industries and the support staff around that, and holy cow, Sky, like anything you could think of you could do. And it does come back to this. Hey, quick question though, just because I'm curious. I went to college for exactly one semester, just long enough to become the Mystery Science Theater 3000 secretary and treasurer of Colorado, not to brag, but I was majoring in psych, soc, and anthropology, because I thought that's what Indiana Jones would do, like, right? What was your first go around? What were you majoring first?
The first time I went to college, I was a sports medicine major in Colorado as well, actually. Fort Lewis, Durango, Colorado. But yeah, I wasn't very passionate about it. I thought that's what I wanted to do because I liked the gym and the trainers when I was playing sports in high school. I really liked what they did. And I thought that maybe rehabilitative therapy could be cool, but that's not me at all, at all. And I lasted 2.5, maybe 3 years tops, and then I dropped out. So
Yeah.
got into working, you know, and I'm happy for it because I absolutely love what I do now, you know.
Sure, sure. And that's where I just think that I wish more students in all sorts of fields could have the opportunity for internships. Because you do really find out what you do and you don't like. Like, yeah, cool, you like the gym, but I kind of look at it as you're still doing the same thing. You're just now doing it with buildings instead of people.
Yep.
You know, and you get to build them. Oh man, Jay does some really cool stuff. So you get to build some sweet projects. Like,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, J.E. Dunn builds, I mean, they're in every market, whether it's commercial high rise, aviation, industrial, healthcare, and, you know, K-12, higher education. And I can say, you know, in my young career with a general contractor with J.E. Dunn, I've gotten to see a broad range of projects like that. I mean, I've worked on a hospital, I've worked on a school, I'm working on an industrial project now, I've worked on another industrial project. So I mean, I've gotten a very rounded experience through J.E. Dunn. So
You know, that's something interesting too, because Scott and I were speaking earlier on how, you know, your first job might necessarily not be the one you do forever, but how all these jobs play a role. And, you know, you've had the experience of going to all these jobs, like it all filters into the bigger picture. And I'm envious. I've seen a lot of weird stuff in residential. I want to play more in commercial because I don't know, it's cooler. Again, the tools are better, right?
yeah, I've worked in both. I mean, you know, different strokes for different folks, but I prefer the commercial world.
Sure. So when you left college, you went into the work world. How did you get back into school and how did you pay for it?
I went through a slew of different trades, right? When I left college, I realized that my best earning potential without a degree was probably going to be in construction. And I got in, you know, various trades. I mean, I took wood shop in school and I finished carpentry, iron erecting. I built playgrounds for a while. I was a glazer installing glass for a long time. And that's eventually what led me back to school. So I was working in the glass industry with a couple of people that were in their 50s, and they would start every day with a handful of pills just because their body was breaking down on them.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, that was like, all right, let's get back to school. And so I was fortunate to be able to go back to school with the earning potential that I had. I worked my way through school in the glass industry. And one of the key components for me was, you know, I mean, I had a very understanding boss at the time that I decided to go back to school. So I originally started out going to Georgia Perimeter College, you know, essentially a community college. And I scheduled as many classes as I could online so that I could work a 40-hour week because I had to pay my own bills. I have to pay, you know, my rent and my car and my insurance and all that stuff. So that's how I got into it. But when I transferred to Kennesaw, I ended up going to a job fair, and I realized the wealth of companies that will pay you while you're going to school, and they will pay you very good money to learn while you're going to school. And so I switched at this job fair. I was in Kennesaw for one semester before I went to a job fair and got an internship with J.E. Dunn. I've been here ever since, but
amazing. Actually, because I have folks right now who are asking on, you know, where do you look for jobs? And job fairs,
job fairs, yeah. I mean, they're key. I mean, if you are in the school route already, like before I just graduated, but before while I was still in school, I would tell all the younger students, like, if you don't go to the job fair and you don't get an internship before you graduate, you're doing yourself a disservice, because all the students that graduate from school, you know, the majority of them at Kennesaw would have working experience before they would graduate. And that's, I mean, you know, in a market like Atlanta, you're lucky because you can be an intern year round, right? I had a full-time job.
Paid. They are
paid
opportunities. This is not, Because I don't know, I came out of television and there were unpaid interns that we like, that's not nice. That's not how this industry works. When we talk about internships in this industry, they are paid. And in fact, you are so smart to pass that knowledge on, because to be in high school and to get an internship, you are earning with a curve that goes upwards. The more you are educated, the more you're on job sites, the more you're participating, the more you earn.
If somebody would have told me when I was graduating high school that I could get into the workforce and earn $15 to $20 an hour while I was going to school, my life would have been completely different, you know?
Right? No,
And,
just,
and
hey,
well, even if you're not, let me just throw this in, even if you're not going the college route, I mean, if you want to just get into if you get an apprenticeship with, a trade, you just, like Courtney was saying, you want to learn how to weld. I mean, there's so many apprenticeships that you can get through a union job that will pay you to get skilled training as well. So
sure, big time. Hey, okay, I got 2 questions. How long did it take you to get through school? The second.
6 years. I was on a slow plan. At first I was only taking 2 classes per semester, and I was working 40 hours a week. By the time I graduated, I was at the height, I was taking 6 classes a semester, and I was working 50 plus hours a week. So, I mean, that's 100 hours a week I was working towards the end of my.
Oof, that is exhausting, and I now want to take a nap for you, post nap. But it takes the hustle. That's the thing. Yep. You have to invest the work and the time somewhere, and the fact that you are getting educated for free, or I'm sorry, you're earning. So it's, I mean, you aren't carrying a heavy load and a tremendous amount of debt, and the fact that you have the opportunity to make a great hourly wage to pay off any education. But you are right. There are a lot of places that you don't need to continue with college or go to college to work in this industry. And hey, does JE don't have any internships, or where like a website people can go? Our fans?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty local at all the Georgia, the big Georgia construction schools. They're usually at the career fairs, but you can look them up online and apply that way as well.
Awesome. Great, because it is a fantastic company. We've had the opportunity to interview different folks, and this is I'm so happy that both of you were able to join us today, because you're young and you're in the industry. It's wonderful to see 2 people who are happy in the careers that they are in. And I think it's very important for students and folks to know, like, you can get into this early. You can start in high school, and there's a lot of potential in that. Before I go, I would love to know, Courtney, I'll start with you. Are there any parting words that you want to pass on to students as far as some key things that they need to have in mind when they are going on to job sites or seeking a career in this industry?
Just to make sure that you pay attention to everything that your teacher had told you and prepared you for, and then to take it seriously.
Big time. Are you encouraging your students to get internships? Are you like, hey, go make money?
Yeah, since last year was our first year as a program, this year I definitely am trying to implement that a lot more.
Awesome. Oh, that's great, because the opportunities are huge. And Joe, I am really appreciative of your story, because you did make the investment into higher education. You're still in the industry, so you can see both sides. If you got it, like, there's a ton of earning potential without a college education in it. I mean, and you could go down any path. I'm sure you and I could geek out about, like, guess what I saw one time at a house.
Yeah. Yep.
The fact that you invested in higher education, you've altered your career path. Now you're handling. I explain to people, being a general contractor is like being the conductor of an orchestra. Instead of musical instruments, we're in charge of people, and like hanging out with stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of everything. So
yes, no, it is fantastic, and I appreciate you taking the time to share that story, because yes, there's so many different paths, and oh my gosh, hundreds of different job areas. So Scott, I'm happy you popped back on too. This is a nice little group chat.
Yeah, I mainly just wanted to say thank you to Joe and Courtney. Thank you so much for making time today to share your career path story. And we really appreciate you. JE Dunn is one of our biggest supporters here in Georgia. We are so appreciative for all that J.E. Dunn does for CEFGA. So we appreciate you. And, Will is on our board, Will Etheridge, Joe, you probably know him.
Will's a great guy. Yeah.
He's a great guy. And we work with a lot of good folks over there. We have a lot of meetings at your really cool office. In fact, I think Kayleen, you went over there when you were in Atlanta. Did you slide down the slide in their office?
Of course I did. It was like the first, I had to be polite and contain myself and ask permission first, because I see things like that and I turn into like a kid at Disneyland. I'm like, you put a slide in your office. This is the best thing ever. Like,
the first time I went down that slide was in a suit and pants, and that thing is slick with that kind of material. I almost went to the wall.
Oh, it'll shoot you out fast.
Yeah.
There were definitely some trajectory momentum on it. No, this was, it's very, very cool. Again, getting to work in the industry. We had a fun time.
That's right. How many offices have slides in them, right?
Yes.
Did you guys see the game room as well? I mean, come on, there's a game room.
There's a putting green out back. Yeah, it's really cool. You guys did it right over there.
Yeah.
And Courtney, thank you so much for joining us. It's always good to see you. Do you know your plans? Are you guys going back to school in person or virtual this year? Do you know?
As of right now, we're supposed to go back to school August 3rd. That's all I really know. We're preparing for virtual in case that were to happen. But as of right now, I think they've decided to go back.
Perfect. Well, good luck with that. We know it's a crazy time for school teachers, and
yes.
Let us know what we can do to help you with that transition, and we wish you all the best over there in Thompson with getting things fired back up. So
thank you.
Kayleen, we're back at it again next week, next Tuesday. Looking forward to that.
Yes, I'm actually very excited about next Tuesday because we're going to be chatting. Our guest is from Turner Construction, and we'll be talking about how to build your talent pipeline. So, the last few weeks we've been talking about sort of the starting at the bottom, working your way up. Now I want to talk to employers on how do you find that group and what they're looking for, and just chat more with the employee side, because gosh, it is it's very exciting. I'm thrilled to be able to kind of keep the energy excited about this industry, because we could pass on all the amazing careers out of this. So
definitely, Kayleen. It looks like we'll also have Laura. Is it Skelly from J.E. Dunn with us next week as well? Is that right?
I believe so, and thank you very much, Scott, because I clicked the wrong button and then that chat disappeared. So I know. Thank you. Ooh, I'm so much better with power tools than I am with technology sometimes.
But looking forward to that as well. So looking forward to catching up next week, and we will see you soon.
Yes, me too. Everyone have a fabulous rest of your day, and that's it. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Kayleen. Bye, Joe. Bye, Courtney.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.